All right. So, hey, speaking of it, we've been diving into conferences left and right. And hey,
Mhm.
look, we know it's May, right before Memorial Day weekend. Um, and this is far, far too early to talk about this, but we're college football fans. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this right now. The way too early power rankings. And I'm going to throw this up here. And I'm going to let you go first and go ahead and talk Big Ten. And tell me what you think. We got you, Ohio State, and Penn State is the top three with Wisconsin at 4. What do you think about that? Like, you think it's pretty fair?
I think those top 4 teams are fair. I think that's right where they should be placed. I like Iowa at 5. After that, I'd put Maryland 6 personally. Purdue 7, Michigan State 8. Just because I don't know what Michigan State's doing at quarterback this year. Peyton Thorne being gone. Now, that might help them more than it hurts them. Peyton Thorne was not very good.
No. And we lost Keon. They lost Keon Cole, too. Keon Coleman.
To Florida State. I mean, you could argue Illinois should be higher. Nebraska's still going to be a good team. That's a very good Big Ten this year. Nebraska with Matt Rule and Wisconsin with Luke Fickell. I don't think Wisconsin's overrated. You get Luke Fickell in there. You saw how quickly he turned around Cincinnati. You give him Braylon Allen and a Wisconsin offensive line to work with. Wisconsin scares me this year. They do.
And they got Phil Longo.
Yeah.
We talked about him at North Carolina.
I think last year when I saw Purdue in the Big Ten championship game, I was like, we got this. If we see a Wisconsin or an Iowa, if they allow Cade McNamara to actually play quarterback instead of whatever Iowa does with their quarterbacks, then Iowa can be dangerous too, because they always pump out a very good defense. If you can figure out that offense, Iowa's going to be scary. We'll see how quickly Matt Rule can turn around Nebraska, because that was a pretty talented team that just did not do well with the coaching staff. So we'll see how that goes. But there's a very good list of Big Ten teams there.
Okay. Absolutely. You said Badger recruiting dipped. I think Fickell needs a year. Yeah, most coaches do till they get their recruits, but he's got a number of different coaches that he brought with him. He got a couple guys from North Carolina. So he's got a head start to it, and with Braylon Allen there, okay, he's got some players. So I'm excited to see what he can bring up. Hola, amigos. Let's pop up because Sir Mason talks of football. Let's go. Let's go through. I'll go with the ACC. It has Florida State, Clemson, us, Duke, Pitt, NC State, Louisville, Syracuse, Miami, and Georgia Tech. Personally, for me, I would switch the top 2. In my opinion, I like how they're hyping up Florida State. I like where they're putting them. But you and I have seen Cade Klubnik. We've seen the quarterback at Clemson. He completely changes that offense. So I think they are on the perch. Until you knock them off, they are up there. I got Florida State at 2. I'm good with us at 3. I like Duke at 4. I'm not going to lie. I think NC State should be over Pitt in this one, because I love their linebackers. I love what they got at wideout. I'm surprised Miami is this low. But I guess the Mario Cristobal thing didn't really work well last year, but give him a year. I think once he gets his guys this year, I wanted to see what Van Dyke, if he can return and do anything, because he was so hyped coming into last year. But I think, KJ Jefferson's still at Arkansas. He's a senior. But I mean, for the most part, I think this is how it's going to end this season. So I like us where we are. But again, it's like I told you before, May and the rest of the team has to prove himself. I went back and started looking at some of those games. And even early, yes, the offense is legit. We got we 4 running backs a year ago, and I think it was Caleb Hood and Marion Hampton. I can't forget the 2 guys' names, but these were freshmen and sophomore guys coming in and still, there was a lot of running back by committee because we didn't know who the guy was. So the offense was solid, but the defense struggled. We talk about the 40 points we gave up in the 4th against Appalachian State. You know what I mean? And they're no slouch, but anytime you give 40 to any offense, that says something about you guys. Now, albeit we still won because our offense is great, but we gotta work that defense and figure it out. And it's not like we don't have the pieces. We just gotta get it done. So I like us at 3. I like that. Let's look over at that Pac-12. Go ahead. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the one thing I'll say about Pitt, NC State. I think the reason they have Pitt above them is the transfer quarterback coming in. I think it's Phil Yurkovich. Is at Pitt this year, so they've got a proven quarterback. Yeah. So he came over. So I think that might be why, because I can't remember who NC State has starting at quarterback now that Leary's gone. But I think that might be the reason why. And also just because Ben's got that comment up, with the Clemson FSU debate there, I think a big part of it too might be with Clemson. Yes, they've got Clay Klubnik there, but you lost 3 or 4 starters along that defensive line. You lost your middle linebacker that was the leader of your defense. I don't think the offense is the worry. Now I think it's the defense. I mean, you've got Klubnik, Will Shipley, those kind of guys. Your offense is going to be just fine. I think it's just kind of a wait and see what we get out of the Clemson defense, why they're number 2.
Right.
You've got more proven guys at FSU starting. Like I said, we were talking about the players earlier, Jared Verse and Jordan Travis and all them. And then forgot Keon Coleman until we said he transferred out of Michigan State.
Right.
That's one of the better wide receivers in football this year, paired with one of the better quarterbacks. Florida State, I think, will be very dangerous this year. Ben, you should be excited. I think it's going to be a fun year for your Seminoles.
Yeah.
A very fun
Absolutely. Year. I'm not excited about it, but I can see it happening. Bring Ben Cordetta in, the hardest working guy on podcast. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, I thought about it, and then he made this comment. Drake may be. Okay, we're going to see. Okay, we're going to see. All right.
When do you guys play each other this year?
About to say, check that. I was looking. NC State's quarterback is Brennan Armstrong, the quarterback from Virginia for a couple years ago.
Oh yeah. So I mean, Yurkovich is much better than Armstrong, or he has been the last few years.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of understanding why Pitt's above NC State, but we'll have to wait and see. Man, you guys got a tough schedule to start.
Yeah.
At South Carolina, host App State, host Minnesota, at Pittsburgh, host Syracuse.
Yeah.
Man.
And then we got Miami. And then we got so golly, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so we got a tough top 4. And then Syracuse, they always play us tough. Miami, we don't know what they're bringing. Then, you hopefully you get UVA, but then you got their coach as a second years guy, so he's doing good. Georgia Tech, we'll see what they bring. Then we have Campbell, so the bye week. Then Duke, which always Riley Leonard, he shows up. And then Clemson and NC State. So
both on the road too.
Right. We have a gauntlet at the beginning of our schedule and a gauntlet at the end. That's another reason why I wanted to see what we can do, because that defense is going to have to show out this year. This is Gus Malzahn's second year as our DC. It's going to have to improve. We have the players, like I said, but it's going to have to improve. We don't play this season, Tarsus. We should consider ourselves lucky. Is that right? Let us see.
It's going to be either, I think it's going to be you guys for the North or the Coastal or whatever division you guys are in. And then the other division, it's either Clemson or FSU at this point.
Yep.
So you might play FSU come December. And Scott, I'm not giving you the finger, man. You've given me no reason to give you the finger.
Right. Yeah, no, I can see it. I mean, like I said, I don't really fear Pittsburgh. Duke, Riley Leonard, man, he exposed us a little bit last year, and I want to see what he
Mm-hmm.
does. Like I told you about Miami, Virginia Tech, Virginia, they still got to prove it to me, and same with
Yeah.
Georgia Tech. But again, I don't fear anybody in the Coastal. But you're exactly right. It's going to be Clemson and Florida State and the Atlantic Division to see who's gonna reign over that one and who's gonna meet us. We saw what happened last year. It's a new year. Let's get
Mm-hmm.
things moving and grooving. All right, let's look over to the Pac-12. In the Pac-12, you got USC, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Oregon State, UCLA, Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, and Washington State. What are you thinking about that, man?
That's a good conference.
Yeah, top to bottom.
I think UCLA's sixth because, like you said, Dante Moore is probably the starting quarterback.
Yep.
So all the teams above them have proven quality starters. Yep. I know Uiagalelei was bad last year, but I mean we've seen him play very well for Clemson before. Just didn't really fit the system of that new OC coming in. I think he fits Oregon State to a T what they want from the quarterback. And that defense should still be absolute lockdown defensively. Utah, I think, is I think those top four teams in the Pac-12 could all be playoff teams. Yep. I truly believe that. Utah's good enough to make it. Oregon's good enough to make it. Washington's good enough to make it. USC's good enough to make it. And it's kind of interesting because three of those teams have to play each other to try and meet USC in the conference championship game.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. I feel pretty confident USC will be there for the South in the conference championship game. And then it's just who's going to win the Pac-12 North. I mean, man, that's so tough because you've got three of the top probably 15 quarterbacks in the nation flanked by very good rosters around them. Like that's three scary teams, and only one of them is going to have a shot at the playoff, and they'll have to get through USC to make it.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy to see, and to see if USC, who we know about their electric offense, but to see if that defense gets better, because like you mentioned, that defense has been their one weakness, and hey, and also something that we didn't talk about this week, but we will cover down the line. Their AD resigns.
Yeah.
Just unexpectedly. So a lot of people, as we're doing a little research on it, a lot of people are starting to think there might be sanctions or there might be certain things coming down the line. We will definitely follow up on that story, but yeah, there might be trouble in the water for USC. And hey, these other teams are prime and ready to go. Look, we got to talk about one team that's not in the top of the list. They're still down there in the bottom, and I think rightfully so. In those last four, Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, and Washington State. Colorado, they're so hyped. Dion is there. You got Shador. You got Travis Hunter, who's now wide receiver, and I think ranked top 15 in one of those lists I was giving you. I got to show you that one. I think this is right where they're at. I like where they're at in the bottom four of their conference. Could we see them potentially move up? I mean, I could see them I could see them over potential Arizona, and we don't know about Dante Moore at UCLA. Could they be kind of in the middle of the pack by season's end?
I was going to say you could make the argument they're better than Arizona right now.
Yeah.
I do think that's a valid argument just because Arizona, Arizona State, and Washington State are not very good programs right now.
No.
And I mean, Colorado, you've got last year's number one recruit. You've got a senior quarterback who played very, very well at Div 3. If Div 3 was eligible for the Heisman, he probably would have been in Heisman conversations, at least last year. And you get Dion, who brings star power with him, who brings a number of recruits with him. Like, I mean, if you saw the numbers, it was like 65 players have transferred out. All those spots have been filled and then some. So I mean, you could absolutely make the argument that Colorado's ahead of Arizona right now.
Right.
And could be ahead of UCLA based on Dante Moore's play by mid-season. I would pump the brakes on them being better than UCLA because I still think UCLA is a very good team, and if Dante Moore's a good quarterback, they're up in that next tier with Oregon, Utah, Washington, and USC. They're right there with those guys. But I think Colorado, like I said, my expectation is to be competing for bowl eligibility.
Yep.
So from a team that won 1 or 2 games last year, I'm expecting 5 to 7 somewhere in there. So
yeah.
I definitely think that Colorado warrants to be in that discussion to move up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think he's going to give them a boost. And these players you talked about had the number 1 recruit last year at corner. They had a number 1 recruit at corner this year. And like he's bringing star power there. It's in the sun. It's in a nice place. Well, it's in Colorado, so we know it's legal there. So
yeah,
he's got a lot of stuff.
Although
it's going to be.
Deion's not going to let that fly on his team. So
Right. Yeah. He's got them dressed up in suits, but that's the other part. He's brought a good culture to Colorado. Mm-hmm. So where they were, I think they were one of the last teams to win a game, but they ended up being 4-8 last year. You get some of those guys and the bad mentality out. You bring in your guys. You put in your mindset. Let's see if it translates on the field. You said 5 to 7 wins. I'm going to call it right now, man. I think they sneak in with a 6-6 record and they get the Insight.com bowl or something like that. They get some kind of bowl game, and he's going to make it out. He's going to have more attention in his bowl game than will one of the major bowls just because it's Deion.
Yep.
It's the fact of the matter. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So we will definitely look through a lot of those. As you see, the American, the Big 12 has Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Kansas. OU at 5, followed by TCU, BYU, USC, or UCF, Baylor, and Houston. Clayton Tune's gone. Tank Dell's gone. Houston's gone. I mean, they were one of the top teams, and now obviously they're moving into the Pac-12. They're on the bottom. Unfortunately, I don't see them too far ahead of that right now. They lost too many weapons, and they're one of those teams that when they have star power, they're going to be good. Yep. But as soon as they go to the NFL, they're back to being the same old Houston. So, do you like this in the Pac-12? Anybody surprise you?
Texas should be number 1 in my opinion. I think they warrant that. I know they lost their top 2 running backs, DeMarvin and Overshown. They lost quite a bit, but you have Xavier Worthy, who's one of the better wide receivers in the country. You have Quinn Ewers, who I think will be the starter for the majority of the year, if not the entire year, over Arch Manning. A lot of people forget this was a number 1 quarterback recruit from a few years ago. Exactly. So the guy can ball. I mean, he went toe-to-toe with Bryce Young in Alabama for the quarter until he got hurt. But, I mean, the kid can absolutely ball. It's a very good football team they have in Austin right now. Kansas State, I would put number 2. I feel like Kansas is the number 3 team. I think Texas Tech is being pushed a little too hard right now. I'd probably drop them down maybe even to 5. I'd put TCU 4, Texas Tech 5, Oklahoma 6. And then the rest of that, Baylor, I don't know. I think Baylor can move up too. I think Baylor can move up to 7. Low. Especially with Dave Aranda still there. He's a phenomenal football coach. Has them fighting every year, especially defensively. He always shells out a good defense. So I think Baylor should be higher. I think those teams moving into the Big 12 this year are going to struggle a bit. UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, losing Luke Fickell. I think they're all going to kind of struggle a bit for a year or two. No Oklahoma State on there, if I'm not mistaken. That's interesting.
Where is
I like them better than Houston. I like them better than UCF right now. Arguably like them better than BYU.
Yeah.
Especially now that Jaron Hall's gone for BYU. Yeah, I would shake up quite a bit with that Big 12. I don't really agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit up in the air. I don't know. I don't know why they have Texas Tech as high as they do. Do you?
Yeah, I don't know because I didn't watch any Texas Tech football last year other than watching Tyree Wilson highlight tapes closer to the draft.
Right.
So I don't know hardly anything about Texas Tech this year, to be honest. I'm going to take a look at them now, seeing how high they're ranked in everything. Yeah, that one's a little surprising to me. And now that I think about it, Oklahoma State might be lower because we don't know what their quarterback situation is. Spencer Sanders is gone.
True. So that's going to be interesting. So Texas Tech was 8-5 overall last year. They were 6-1 at home a year ago.
Interesting.
Okay. So I mean, we might have to take a look at them and see kind of what they bring, because that's very interesting. And one more really quick, the SEC, obviously Georgia's 1, LSU is 2, Bama is 3. Then you go South Carolina, Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Missouri. I noticed also Kentucky is not on here.
No, I mean, you lost a lot of your key players at Kentucky from a year ago. So we'll see what Devin Leary can do for them. A&M's way too high for me. I would put them at 9 and move Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Mississippi State all up 1. It'll be interesting to see how Mississippi State does without Leach this year.
Yeah.
And I'd flip Tennessee and South Carolina until I see what South Carolina can do. Because, yes, I know that Hendon Hooker's gone. We saw Joe Milton play in that bowl game, and that offense was still electric.
Right.
So he can do a lot of what Hendon Hooker does. He's not as accurate. But I think Tennessee's still going to be dangerous this year. South Carolina's a good football team, don't get me wrong. Oh, yeah. I just think they're the 5th best team, not the 4th.
Yeah, and I agree with you on A&M. I mean, I got them below Ole Miss and Arkansas. I mean, you bring back KJ Jefferson in Arkansas. You're bringing back Judkins and Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. Those offenses, those running offenses, are too potent. Texas A&M really laid an egg last year with all that talent they had. Now you got guys kind of leaving. Texas A&M hasn't shown me anything thus far to warrant them higher, but I agree. Missouri, I don't think they're up ready yet. Mississippi State, it's going to be what are they going to look like after in the post Mike Leach era? So I hope for them to do good. Will Rogers, we all know how great he has been, and hopefully they'll stick with that same offense because he's electric at quarterback. But
he's so good,
right? I just wonder. How much will the death of Leach, how much will that take out of the team?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was so beloved, and it's going to be so weird this year not having him on the sidelines. But we shall definitely see. Look, there's a lot of conferences where we will definitely touch on them as the season goes by.